Question everything, trust nothing. It's your boys, Keeper and Crusader, here on another special episode of TA Thursday. We are at the Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin Miami. Shout out to the city of Miami. We're having a great time, and shout out to all of you. We're going to get right into it. We obviously don't have charts set up to show you, so it's a little bit different format today. We're going to dive in and just talk some macro market stuff all the way into what's going on with Ledger. So, Crusader, kick us off. Let's chat a little bit about Bitcoin because we're at the Bitcoin conference.
Bitcoin conference, right? So we got to talk about Bitcoin. So, guys, Bitcoin obviously didn't hold 27, right? We've been struggling. What's going on with Bitcoin? What kind of targets do you guys? I mean, obviously we don't got charts here. We're just talking off macro stuff. Where do you guys see Bitcoin? You guys bullish, bearish with this price action that's happening with Bitcoin? Kind of crab walking sideways right now and not being able to hold some of these key levels. How you guys feeling?
Well, thanks for having me, man. This is awesome to see you guys in person.
As always.
Sweet, man. So for me, anyways, it's keeping an eye on the charts, just as we always do. And there's a trend line that if you connect the lows, the recent lows, that Bitcoin broke below that 27,000, and it's kind of making a bearish flag pattern. So short term, that tells me as long as we don't regain 27 and change thousand, there's likely more downside to go here in the near term. And for me, in terms of targets, I'm looking at right around 24 to 25. There's a lot of support, and then even more support at 23. So there'll be a point. Right now, I have the short out. I have a short out on Bitcoin from around 29 and change. If we get down to 24, 25, I probably cover that short. If it goes even lower to 23, I probably flip it into a long. Now, again, just a reminder, I'm a swing trader, right? So I'm not, it's not a hodl position. It's a be in, make 5, 10%, be out of it kind of thing like that. The only thing I'd like to point out, too, is that I'm curious to see, if you look historically at the stock market and Bitcoin often leads the stock market. And Bitcoin topped out at 30,500 a couple weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago now. And the stock market is now seeing this kind of crazy run in some of the stocks that we were seeing with the speculation in Pepe and some of these other coins. And I do wonder if this is starting to tell us something about the stock market diving and maybe Bitcoin having topped short term.
That's a really interesting thought. Lifer, what you got?
Like some similar sentiment, just I keep looking at the 3-day chart, and the 3-day chart has a low stochastic with like basically lack of seller momentum, and it's making what a lot of us would call, if we saw it on the 15 or the 7, a bull flag, like a downward trending bull flag, but a flag of some sorts. It is still holding that trend line flag. It didn't, try to make it to the top of that area, like visually looking at it, but again, it double topped on the 1 hour last night around that $27,100 area. Couldn't get above it. So I even said this morning, open up, I call them insurance shorts. I like when you can open up a short really close to price action, right at a major resistance point that like happened very early, right? Because you don't have to risk a lot. If it pops back up and it could be, and they've been doing trapping too. They bear trapped everyone on that wick on the 4 hour. If you look at that giant wick on the 4 hour time frame, I'm also seeing buy pressure to the upside. I'm waiting for the next bank to collapse. Another bank collapse next week, or we see something in the financial system crack. I'm telling you right now, like I think Bitcoin will get that jump up, and if it can get back above like 28,005, it can start to range between 28 and maybe even like 30,005 right there. And I see a target with a gap in the VRVP when I see it in my mind up to like 41,000. At the same time, as great as that sounds, we have to reclaim 27K. So like I like the idea of opening an insurance short right now. You can get that downside entry. I don't know if we get as low as 23K just because there's buy pressure. You have to remember, I try to rethink how I felt when I first got in and the mistakes I've made throughout trading in my life. People were being told 10K so much, 10. So 17K, they didn't pull the trigger. 19K, they didn't pull the trigger. 22K, they didn't pull the trigger. 23K, right? Then it went up to 30, and a lot of those people were like, what am I thinking? And they were having like palpitations. So now they're like, some of the people are like, oh, wait for the bottom again. That's kind of broken a lot of people's spirits. I think they're becoming smarter DCAers now, and I think the average person, hey, I got 20 grand associated. It goes down to 24 again. I'm grabbing at least 25 to 3 grand, and they know, fine, it could go to 19 this time. They're a little more aware, but I think the average retail person now, and with people waiting in line at SPF and like watching banks actually collapse, like watching governments take over First Republic and then sell it to chase probably a profit, which then was inflation because it made money out of thin air. And so they keep printing money. They're going to raise the debt ceiling too. I keep looking at that macro idea. And again, I'm a trader. I don't care what happens outside of it. We got to break above that 27, that double top of the 1 hour. But at the same time, I realize that the energy flows from that and back into the charts. And I'm watching both things, to look at my levels. But we see the debt ceiling. They're gonna raise it. If they don't, like, right, we're gonna default their loans. When they raise it, that they're gonna have to print money. Like, where's that money coming from? So they're going to print more money, and now they moved it to June. It was supposed to be July. I think there's like a firestorm a bit here that can kind of start. And there's been some whales accumulating too. If you look at some Glassnode ideas, we just hit 1 million wallets with 1 Bitcoin, first time in history. And China is about to make crypto legal again
the
in Hong
wallet
Kong.
thing though is a little,
right?
because you never know, like for example, Ledger, every time you receive a transaction, you actually create and generate a new wallet. So in that sense, I've always been skeptical about the wallet debate, because it could literally be the same person with 100 wallets, and we don't
100%.
really know.
I'm just saying it's a great metric. Like, I'm not.
No,
I'm
no,
not
I
yet.
agree.
I
I'm just
can't
saying
battle like
it's-
the origins of the metric, but it's better than than having 500,000. Like, it has to be some type of push.
Right.
I bought a whole Bitcoin at 19,000. I bought 16, 17, and I bought a lot more. I'm not trying to, but I bought a lot spot in that area, thinking, hey, I kept capital on the sidelines for 10K if we go there, and you have to be ready for 10K. Like, you have to be ready for that, or you're not in crypto. You can't just be like. But I see this weekly divergence too that's just screaming to me that we did bottom at that like 15.8 area, but you never know.
So, all right, you guys covered a lot right now, or I don't know if you want whatever. But yeah, so I'm not going to repeat everything that you guys just said. I am obviously very bullish on Bitcoin, and unlike these two gentlemen right here, I have started my TA journey with Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. So essentially, Bitcoin is basically the only chart that I've really ever looked at. So what I'm really seeing right now is that we are, in my opinion, a little bit overextended on the short term. I do believe that personally, that run up was pretty intense. So, if I knew nothing about what was going on in the stocks, I knew nothing about everything you just talked about with the debt ceiling, and I just had to look at a chart and just judge it based on what I'm seeing, the fact that we didn't have really that it was $25,300, that area, we still never really wicked down to it yet. We've had a fake out around the 700 level, but we never officially got down there and built enough of a base to really convince me that resistance should now be flipped into a support, number one. And the other thing is, a lot of people have been following me on my channel, and a really simple indicator is just the weekly EMA ribbons. It's been extremely reliable throughout Bitcoin's history. Generally, when you tend to get above, you're pretty much looking for bullish. When you go below it, you're looking for bearish. So the first indicator that you look for is the 89. Now, we got above that, and when we did, I had said to everybody on my channel, generally speaking, we're probably going to hang out here for a little bit, and we did. We bounced off it for about 5 weeks, and then once we got rejected, as you guys can see, that has now become the same $27,000 area. So it's like the confluence. It really doesn't matter if you're doing a trend line, you're using divergences, you're using the EMAs. They are all showing confluence right now, and the confluence is telling me that we are overextended in the short term, and I do believe that we need to go down, maybe even fill the CME futures gap in the 24, wherever it is, it's down there, right? And I think once we do that, I think we can then maybe start to build that slow grind back up. But I think where a lot of people might disagree with me, which I'm happy to be proved wrong, I don't think we're going to see a lower low than we saw already than the 15. I think worst case scenario, you may see a double bottom with a potential wick lower, like what we saw in 2013, where there was that fake out, but then by the time we had that weekly close, it was back up. So I'm not saying we can't go below 15.5 to shake people out, but I don't think that you're going to see a weekly close below 15.5 ever again, unless it's like some catastrophic event. But that's just where I'm currently standing right now. I don't know if you guys have another.
There's a lot going on in the markets, period. So we obviously know you guys started to touch on the debt ceiling, printing this $1 trillion Fed coin. We've been talking about that on the channel, just another way to kick the can down the road. And as always in the crypto space, or generally, we see Ethereum, which is obviously the next thing that we normally would talk about. So let's touch on ETH. ETH has actually been holding up really well recently. We've seen Bitcoin make some decent sized moves, and ETH has held. And so I guess I would just question, do we think that there's a reason for that? It's done that in the past. We're seeing it right now. Do we think that part of the reason for that is possibly, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but possibly how much action the Ethereum network is getting with all of the meme coin craze that's starting to slow down now, but with all of that? Or do we think that there's actually a technical reason why ETH is holding up so well?
It's funny. ETH tends to follow Bitcoin a lot, so I actually, to be honest, guilty of like probably charting ETH once a week. I don't chart it every single day. Also, it was the first coin I got into. Guy walked down the street, told me about it at $9. Said you got to buy this. I was one of the head coders in Ethereum. I didn't buy it till it was $89, so I like missed the first 10x. And like everyone, you're always late. Like you always feel late. Like that was my late moment. I was like, I should have got ETH at $9. You know, he showed me coin market cap in the street. I was like, what is this? He's like, you'll never be able to sleep at night after this app. You know, and he was right. You know, but you know, what I do see about ETH is it has lost 25% of its value to Bitcoin in the last, I'd say, 4 months, right? If you look at the ETH BTC chart, it is consolidating nicely. Yeah, we had the memes going on with you know, Pepe. People were rushing in to get Pepe. I never thought EIJ 1559 was really going to solve the gas fee problem. Like when I delved into it, and I'm not a genius at all when it comes to that blockchain theory, but I looked at it and I said, I just think there's going to be more congestion eventually. And then whoever wants to pay the highest fee will pay the miners, and then eventually you'll run into the same situation. I look at Ethereum like being in a traffic jam in like a third world country, but you can stick like a C note out the window, and like, you know, like a little guy in a moped, he'll come out, he'll just open this little side gate for you, and you'll be able to drive past everybody.
Well, I mean,
you know,
even Vitalik himself came out and said, realistically, for the use cases that you guys are doing, like why I initially built the Ethereum network and my, you know, our initial vision versus like, you know, trading meme coins, Pepes on Uniswap, he's like, this is probably more of a second layer solution, which is really what we should be focusing on, I think. But I think that ETH continues to do quite well. And people who watch me, they know I'm mostly a Bitcoin guy. But I think Ethereum has definitely proven its worth, proven its place to stay. It has its use case, whereas Bitcoin is digital gold. Ethereum is almost like the gas, the computer, the network, the internet, whatever analogy you want to give it. But from a technical analysis, or even just a price analysis, you know, Ethereum, people say, oh, well, don't buy Bitcoin. It's not going to go up as much. You're going to get more gains in Ethereum if you know how to time the cycles. But if you actually do the ETH BTC chart, not the ETH USD chart, you will see that Ethereum has still to this day never made a new high in comparison to Bitcoin when it was up there in the 0.1. And even though
everyone's gonna flip it, and they like,
but even though right now you're looking at the dollar amount, but it's never actually beat the Bitcoin amount. So realistically, you know, you have to pick and choose. I mean, diversification. I think a well-balanced portfolio should have both in it. Not financial advice, of course. That's my opinion. But yeah, I think Ethereum's here to stay. I think it's doing well. I don't really love meme coins. I believe in like freedom of trading and expression and what you want. I just think that historically speaking, usually when you see this frenzy, I'm not surprised that Bitcoin is going sideways and falling, because this is that greed coming back in again. Look what happened with Shiba and Doge. Just go back historically. These meme seasons are not a good thing. Yeah. I mean, maybe this time it'll be different, but I don't envision that, you know.
So, Gareth, let me ask you, obviously you own a hedge fund, you've got a lot of money that you manage. Is Ethereum something that you are actively trading, or are we strictly, I mean, obviously I know we got a lot of stocks and bonds and whatnot, but do you actively trade Ethereum?
I don't. The hedge fund's strictly stocks and commodities, so I do trade the ETFs that track the futures for Bitcoin a little bit, but the one thing to keep in mind when talking about Ethereum versus Bitcoin is, so with the bank crisis, Ethereum's held up better than most of the other alts. Like if you look at the Matic chart, I mean, it's horrendous. It's ugly, right? Versus Ethereum's held up better, but really Bitcoin's the digital. It is the digital gold in this scenario, right? It's held up the best. You mentioned that Ethereum has lost value compared to Bitcoin, and I think that again is just going back to the fact that people feel most secure moving from banks to Bitcoin, and then the secondary ones are moving from banks to Ethereum. Other than that, the alts again are mostly considered too risky for most people to put money into.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested to see where it goes. I've talked about ETH as being my girlfriend for a long time. That is my biggest holding by far, and I'm hoping she continues to run. Yeah. Crusader, what you got?
I was just going to say one thing. You guys have kind of mentioned like the digital gold side of Bitcoin, and like I look at the digital gold is Bitcoin, right? But then also silver. Silver is Ethereum. Silver, right? So silver has that sort of safety side, but it also has the industrial component where it's used in the economy. And so it's very similar. And so you can see the two, how one matches up with one matches up with the other. And we even see it with silver usually is much more volatile than gold. And Ethereum generally is more volatile than Bitcoin. So it's just kind of cool things to kind of think about.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure to smash that like if you haven't already. Turn on the bell notification if you haven't done that as well.
So you guys mentioned, right, we talked about meme coins briefly. Do you guys believe that TA works on meme coins, or is it purely just a degen play, like, hey, just throw some money at it, hope you make money, or is there any way of possibly for these people playing the meme games, you know, is there TA that works for it?
So I would just say for meme coins, it's like the gambler goes to the casino and like you talk to these people and they're like, I have a system. And they still lose their money, right? So it's the same thing, right? I mean, it's. I don't think TA work. I mean, maybe it does loosely, but for me to risk hard-earned money on these type of things that are so momentum driven and so really social media driven, right? I mean, it's the spreading. It's like a fire spreading in social media that causes these pops. I can't compete with that. I like to trade where I have an edge, and with these type of things, I honestly don't have an edge.
I don't know if you agree with me, Gareth. I think one of the biggest reasons I've tried to chart these meme coins, the problem is the liquidity is so low. It's so easy to manipulate that you will just see the most outrageous patterns and things. And usually once you get that parabolic run, and if you haven't gotten in it already, not gonna chance it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's that.
For me, I started analyzing my life a lot recently and like what made me the most money, and it was speculation. Like, and I realized as much as I like trading and I'm a good, I like to do technical analysis, I'm a great speculator, and I don't let opportunity go by. And I've been on Twitter since 2011. I've seen a lot of trends. I saw Pepe when it was 1,000, whatever you want to say, it was 1,000, then 2,000. I got in late, and I just saw every night when I went to bed, 2.4 million tweets. And I said, that trend's alone easy for me to speculate on. I saw an Adam and Eve double bottom that I love playing, and I got to the point where I got so into the technical analysis, like I couldn't even read like the nutrition things on the back. Like I'd be in a supermarket just because my brain was seeing everything.
You're charting the peanut butter that you're eating?
Yeah, like my brain was just seeing everything as a pattern, and analytically like changing my emotions from what I saw things as reality and only taking in reality as if like I could only see patterns. So like I saw an Adam and Eve double bottom, and I trust that pattern. I've traded it like 500 times in my life. So, and then I saw the trends, and I put in $3,000, $3,500, right? It ran up to like into the 20 area. I took out my entire I took out like 4 or something and left like 2,800 in. That went up again. Then I reloaded again when there was another Adam and Eve double bottom, same pattern, and I rode that all the way up. When it got to 44, I got that little weird feeling like, oh my God. And then I was on Wendy O's show with another analyst, and we were just talking, and like it clicked on me. I said, oh my God, they're sending it to the centralized exchanges. And everyone's going to think, I said, that's going to make the price tank because Ethereum is charging too much money to get out. You're going to be, and because I didn't trade it on Ethereum, I only bought it on Mex Global. See, where the liquidity was actually great. You could get in and out super easily, and I didn't pay any gas fees at all. So everyone was like screaming over the gas fees. Mex Global's been finding the coin like literally within like a week or two. I made about around $12,800 off Pepe. It took 10 days. If I just left initially what I put in and wrote it, I would have made like 45 grand. But I don't beat myself up about trades that didn't. I love a gain, and I'm appreciative for the gain. So I traded that and I have a video on my channel that says like how to trade Pepe like a pro. And anyone who likes TA, like watch that video. And like if you're not convinced, at the same time, I actually like foreshadowed that I would be asked a question similar to this. And I was trying to make a metaphor for how my brain interpolated the information. And it was saying, I can put a skeleton on any map and find it, but there's got to be gasoline to fill the cars. You know what I mean? I could find a Adam and Eve on another meme coin, but it wasn't trending with 2.4 million trends. So I said, man, this has the gas, and I have the TA, and maybe maybe there was some luck involved, but like I truly don't believe in luck. I truly believe it was like preparation. And for once, I did the real right thing with a meme coin. Like every time
Took profit.
It's so emotional. The second you sell it, it's almost as good as the second you buy it. Like because like you're off the roller coaster and like you're done with it. You know what I mean? You're like it's like I don't have to look at the price of this thing anymore.
I respect.
But I sold 37, 38.
Dude,
It went to 44. I sold basically the top, and it had high stochastics. There was a bearish divergence, and it was oversold on the 4-hour time frame. It told me, hey, time to get out, and it was away from the 21-day moving average.
So Lifer was using it. Yeah.
I respect the hustle. I just want to say that. I personally, for me, that I've done that. I've done that stuff in the past, and I get like heart attacks, and I can't sleep at night, and I sweat. So I commend you, and that is amazing. And to anyone who made money off of the memes, that's great. But for me, it's just like it's a lot of headache. So that's awesome. That's a really great story. I just like sticking more with Bitcoin. And I'm a boring guy. I know.
That's okay.
I bring it up a lot because I guess it's so. But my dad passed that week, right? And like, I literally was going to his wake the day I sold Pepe, the top of it. I was on Wendy O's show. The wake was at like 2:30. I got on her show at 1. I said I might have to leave early. And it just hit me when you're talking to other analysts that it was time to get out of the coin. I was like, oh my god! It was like great that I was on that show because it gave me the moment to calm down, just focus on that moment. And I think Gareth, I listen to Gareth, and I watch him on and off. He's almost on every channel every day. If you can find, he's interviewed somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, staying in the present moment. You know what I mean? Just not looking too far ahead or too far behind, and looking at your levels. Like you can't really, and staying calm in that moment. Like I still can't believe I thought I would be out of control, and maybe it was the life, the craziness of my life. Just like I could see clarity in Pepe because like I didn't want to like deal with the pain of everything else going on, and it kind of like got me through the week. Like thank God Pepe was there because it gave me something to focus on.
Well, our thoughts and prayers are with you, brother, about your dad, for sure. Just want to take a brief second. Make sure to smash that like if you haven't done it already, and turn on the bell notification, and make sure you follow each one of these creators. If you're not already, they're taking out of their time at the Bitcoin conference to hang out with us. So you mentioned getting out. You also mentioned, I want to say as an aside, following the Twitter trend is a fantastic idea. I think it's a simple idea because, a lot of especially on the smaller tokens, that momentum is what drives these projects. So I think that's a really, really smart play. But speaking of getting out, you guys are actively trading. You've made great money on trading. It's been a big part of your life. Obviously, we're sitting here talking to you about TA because you guys are good at it. And so when you take profits, a lot of people like to, as we talk about a lot, BYOB, be your own bank. And I kept alluding to getting out because people are wanting to get out of the way with what Ledger has going on. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Crusader, if you could first tell everybody, if they don't know already, the essentials of what's going on with Ledger.
Yeah, the Ledger's basically introduced a backdoor to be able to extract your seed phrase from your Ledger with an opt-in feature, right? I don't trust that opt-in feature. I believe they can override that if they wanted to. They're not going to tell you that, and that's pure speculation on my part. But that can happen as a programmer. You can override those opt-in features. So that's why I don't trust it, and I want to get other people's opinions on what they're doing.
Yeah, what are you guys doing? I mean, I know, obviously, I'm guessing that every single one of us has hardware wallets. Are you guys concerned about this? Is it something you even have your eye on? Is it out of sight, out of mind? What are we thinking?
I mean, I don't have a hardware wallet, because I'm so fast in and out, like in terms of swing trading and day trading, I just don't do that. And I think there will be a point where I start to hodl more and more where I do it, but at this point I don't. But I would just say that from just hearing about it, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, now does this create a new issue that's people are going to have to deal with, like with security or with anything else down the line. And again, I mean, I thought the whole idea of a wallet was it's off grid essentially, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, okay, well now it's not really, right?
So I have a few different points of speculation on it. Some of it ranging from that whole conspiracy thing, which I know you fellas love on the channel, down to, I don't know, maybe they are. So there is the idea that, maybe Ledger just they have as much of the OGs as they're going to get. Right? But how do we get the next wave in? So, grandma loses her password. What does she do? She resets it on the bank. So maybe benefit of the doubt, their logic is, hey, how are we going to get the next wave in if there's not a wave of protection? Get them to pay $10 a month. They lose it, they get it back, right? That's one way to look at it. Another way, we look at the fact that Ledger's coming out of France, right? So they just had their MiCA laws, right? Very convenient timing. You know what I'm saying? So then there's that fear that, if they're sharding this to 3 separate companies, they won't even disclose who the third company is to everybody. So what happens if now somebody in, I don't know, one of these European countries says, you know what, this guy, we need that. We have the power to override this. We don't care about the facial recognition. We need all 3 of these shards, put them together. We need access to those funds right now, right? That's scary as well. And the third thing is the question of the backdoor, as in, okay, so we know that they have introduced the Ledger Nano S Plus, right, conveniently, at the same time that they unroll, this X and this new one they're coming out with. So the fact that they keep the chip not open source, whereas Trezor, everything is open source, no one has ever actually been able to go in there and verify anything about that hardware chip. We've just had to trust them all this time. So them telling me, don't worry, we can't do anything, worries me a little bit. Right? But at the same time, let's also play devil's advocate. What happened with Trezor, they were open source and people were able to go in and manipulate the code. And then if they were able to get access to the physical device, remember there was that situation in which they were able to extract the funds. So it's like, which side of the coin do you take? So for anybody that's watching, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You can diversify on hot wallets. I would say that at this point, if you have an original Ledger Nano S, and this is for anyone that has one of those, I would not update the firmware because we know that they came out with the Ledger Nano S Plus. So if I had to speculate, I would assume that the backdoor does not exist on that original device. It's just what I would.
On their website, they strictly say that the Nano S
Is non-compatible. So I would say if you're worried and you love the Ledger Nano interface and you are an existing customer, then I would say I would stick with your Ledger Nano S and I would not update the firmware until we get more clear understanding of what this is. And then the other alternative solution would be to just diversify. Coinbase is FDIC insured. Of course, you have to dox yourself, whatever. There's hot wallets. You can make old school Bitcoin paper wallets. They're a pain in the ass, but if you want to do them, you could do it if you want to really take that route. So, but yeah, ultimately, I think that there's a lot of negatives to it, but I also think that, unfortunately, because most people don't want to be their own bank, I think maybe they were like, hey, maybe we get some more customers, make some money. So that's kind of my take on it. I don't know if I rambled a little bit, but that's like the whole what I think is going on about that. So
Yeah, no kidding. I think so. I like what you just said, and I hadn't really thought of that side of it because the conspiratorial side of me says, well, the reality is these when they come out with this, it has to come from somewhere. Why would a hardware wallet that says, hey, we want you to be able to custody your own funds, why would they come out and say, oh, by the way, we've got a little backdoor way that we can get it back if you do lose it? For any of us that have been around crypto for any amount of time, that's a scary thing. The only thing that I can think, I'll leave it at this, is that I think that we're seeing so much happen within our government right now. I believe that there's a nudge that's coming from the government, and it's probably more of a shove that's saying, hey, listen, we need to be able to track every single thing. And if we have questions, there are big players that put big money into these hardware wallets. We need to be able to answer those questions, and you need to do this if you want to be able to continue to operate within the United States. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I do hold multiple hardware wallets. I think I have like 15 or something. I got a Nano S when they first came out. I got like the Moon version of the X. I never liked the 2-button system on the Ledger. I
love it. It's simple.
So many times I would click back, and I got a touchscreen Trezor that I'm just.
My fat fingers can't even use the touchscreen
It's
Trezor.
funny.
I'm telling
Sometimes
you.
I do miss my thumb, but I thought like, can I get a pen for it? But for me personally, and then the Ledger Live app, like the password was different on each computer. I was like, I never ended up installing the app on my phone. I don't know what it is. I got steered clear. I never really was a fan of the usability of Ledger. They do seem to have more compatibility, but at the same time, you can always put things on a MetaMask and then connect your hardware wallet, and you can have access to multiple chains. If it doesn't have everything. But yeah, they all say, yeah, you don't have to opt into this, but I think you're right. There is some probably deep dive in behind the scenes. Yeah. They want your hardware wallet engraved in your brain, basically. They want it like your social security number, but they don't like the fact that you can continuously make more and more hardware wallets.
And the logic behind that is, again, unfortunately, and with full respect to the crypto community, we all love them, but you got to do your own research in this type of a thing because none of us really know. So should you have every single last amount on a ledger? I don't know if that's the answer. Maybe have some on an Exodus, have some on a MetaMask, have some in institutional whatever.
Well, it reminds me of Bobby Lee's. You have to scratch off they say they're the great, the ballet wallet's amazing, but the seed phrase is already on that thing, and they say, the 2 parts generated from 2 places and never see it, but that makes me kind of wonder too, what's going on there.
Another company, not shilling them at all in any sense. I don't know if you've seen.
I have no connection with them. By the way.
No, I don't mean either. I mean, outside of hey, click my link, whatever. But Engrave wallets, I don't know if you've seen them. They actually have this really cool thing where it generates. I'm not making this up. It generates it based on the light in the room, and because the light is never the same at any point in the day, it's like this weird thing. You rotate it, and it generates a random seed phrase based on the light. I swear, Google it. It's called Engrave, not shilling. I mean, there are alternatives, and that thing is air gapped, right? So there's just a lot of options out there. But here's the good news. Well, not the good news for the person it happens to, but at some point we're gonna know. There's going to be that guy that comes out on the internet and he says, oh, they got the fund seized, the back door. We'll know sooner or later. So just, up until that point, protect yourself is the best you could do.
Guys, I have to bounce. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
literally just tying it up right now.
right, go ahead.
So all of this brings us back to, if you could pass the mic over to Crusader real quick. All of this brings us back to the thing that we start and end our show with, right? It is question everything.
Trust nothing.
And until next time, hodl.
Like it's out.
We'll see you soon. Thanks, gents. That went way longer than